Now, starting this month, public sector workers will be paid 30% more on their base pay for the 2023 working year. This is coming after 10 separate meetings spanning nearly 2 months. However, government urged the labor to increase their productivity to plug the hole in the country's budget. Michael Ashali has more.
2022, the labor unions wrote to government requesting for 140% increase in their base pay for 2023. The unions cited mainly the increased cost of living as justification for their demand. After 2 meetings, labor was willing to bend.
Government progressed to 18. We also progressed to 65.
We've never been difficult. We've been considerate for years, and many things have gone wrong. So I think that is the time to right the wrongs. The single pay salary structure is the most indecent structure in this very country. You will never take anything below the 60%. We are not representing ourselves. We are representing our constituents. And we have to go back and inform our members who sent us to negotiate for them.
For government, it was a frustrating process.
Unfortunately, we have had to table something anytime we have met. But labor insists on a figure. So we are going back and we'll reconvene.
Tensions were brewing, with none willing to yield to the demands of the other. Both parties broke into caucuses several times to deliberate further. But after 10 meetings in 2 months, a deal was finally reached. Here is Labour Minister Ignatius Baffour-Iwar.
The base pay has been increased by 30% for the 2023 financial year. The effective date of this is 1st January 2023. And as I said, this brings to an end the 2022 COLA of 15% of base pay salary.
But Ignatius Baffour-Iwar urged the workforce to increase their productivity.
What we also require of workers is also to increase their productivity and also work to justify this reward which is also coming to them. We are going to work together to ensure that our output at the workplace also increases. And we are charging Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to lead that course of monitoring what we do at the workplace and also coming out with measures to help us to be able to increase our productivity.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says agreeing to increase the base pay will take a toll on the finances of the country.
This is going to take a toll on the budget, but I'm confident that with enhanced productivity and the commitments that we both have given to each other to make sure that there is peace in this country as we look at pensions issues, labor issues, I think we've come to a satisfying conclusion. And I really would like to thank all of you for your commitment to that. Fiscal implications, of course, we'll have to work with that, but really the issue of a peaceful environment for us to work is something that we treasure, and we really applaud you for that going forward.
Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress TUC, Dr. Yao Ban, spoke on behalf of the labor unions.
This has been a very, very difficult negotiation. And we are happy that it has ended today. It's important that we speak the same language. And I'm sure the 30%, even though it is not what ideally we want, will create that opportunity for us to speak one language and work together to make sure our country recovers to where we were before the COVID hit us.
Both parties agreed that the 15% cost of living allowance should be discontinued. For JoyNews, Michael Ashali.
I've been joined by Professor William Pepra from the Andrews University in Michigan. He joins us via Zoom. I'm grateful for your time, sir.
Hello?
Yes, Prof.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Prof. So we know that already there's pressure on the public purse. Now, we also know the government did not budget for this in the 2023 budget. How big of a problem will this be for government?
Good morning, and for calling me, and good morning to your listeners. So, if we follow the normal process, this negotiation should have happened somewhere in March 2022. But then we delayed, and as at November, when government was presenting the budget, it was not concluded. I know that government would have anticipated a certain percentage and put it in the budget. So at the time, government was proposing about 18%. So my guess would be that was what was factored into the budget. So there will be a difference of about, say, 26 or 28% that has been added on. The implication will be that government may be cutting some expenditure line items to make way for this, or government will be relying on central bank in the form of monetarization or giving overdraft to government to be able to pay these bills. Or the third option will be that government will be increasing the treasury bill requirement to be able to meet the salary payments. And then the fourth option will also be that government will be cutting down some capital expenditure line items. So government may have an option. If government decide not to implement a cost-cutting measure, what it means that it will throw the budget out of gear. And by the end of 2023, we'll be seeing that the wage bill will be going up. Let me also put it that because government has increased the income tax bracket to include a 35%, not all employees who will be getting exactly a 30% increase in their salary. We should be mindful of that.
Okay.
What it means is that a lot of workers will be moving into the higher tax brackets, to the 17.5, 25%, and 35% tax bracket. What it means simply means that the moment the base pay is going up, your tax payments will also be going up. The advantage is that the social security part is also going to go up. So in terms of future retirement, employees will get something better. All these have implications for government. Government probably, as I've mentioned, need a major strategy to accommodate this 30% increment. If you realize last year, total emolument was about 44 billion Ghana cedis. So if you do a cap of a 30%, it's really going to go up about 54 something billion cedis going to come in. And if you look at government projected revenue for only for 2023, about 200 and something, that's you are getting about a quarter of that one going into wages, which is very, very, very significant. So the implication to government is very serious.
Now, government is asking the teachers to actually be productive. We know that analysts have said that productivity usually at the public sector does not match how much they've been paid over the period. How does government make use of this opportunity to ensure productivity?
I mean, the way the salary negotiation was done, it was not tied to productivity. So all employees will get a 30% increase in their base pay. The instrument is with government. They must make sure that workers are working. They are the policy makers. The kind of policy you put in place will determine my output. So just telling or the employment minister saying that show to us increase in productivity, there should be, because you are the employer, you should lay down all the necessary tools that will make the worker to be able to produce. One factor is compensation or emolument. There are other factors that requires the employer to be very productive. The tools needed to work, are they available? The condition of work, the environmental condition of work to the worker, is it put in a position that the worker feels happy to stay there and work? And then once the employer is able to assure all these things, it will really help. An important factor is that if the employer is also seen to be listening to the employee, sometimes it creates the opportunity to come out with productivity. So it's not only the employer showing that I'm working. I can come to the office, but if my employer does not give me my job description, if there are duplications of jobs, which we currently know, like the ministries of education, there are other agencies or government offices open up. So if I work at the Ministry of Education and I'm in charge of senior high school, but there is a secretariat also set somewhere, I'll go to the office and I will not be productive. Someone is doing my job. So as mentioned, the government will have to put in the structures, the needed working tools, not only salary, to push for productivity. Yep. A lot of factors come into play to make sure that the employer becomes productive.
So aside cutting down on certain aspects of the budget to be able to make up for this 30%, are there avenues for government to actually generate revenue to fill in this gap?
I mean, in the general revenue discussion, Ghana, we have some resources. Probably the government is really focusing on taxes, but there are other resources that we can ensure that we bring them on stream to make sure that we generate revenue. The bauxite discussion is still pending, which could have helped the country if it had worked well to bring in the 3 billion, but the way it was done with the Chinese was a barter trade. And even that one, it has not materialized. And government go back and renegotiate on the bauxite transaction. I think if you remember, we were also going to use our royalties for some kind of transaction in the past. Can it be looked at from a different angle, like factoring and not to sell our royalties for a very long period? These are other options that government may have to look out for. In times of difficulty, we may have to think outside the box. Once we are able to get the taxes to come in, the natural resources God has given to us, can we turn some of them into revenue generation? And for me, that is where we must be looking at, because Ghana is endowed with a lot of them to bring in the needed revenue. And it will help the country to get foreign direct investment. I mean, it's challenging times, right? But with the needed and the right approach by government, having a strong negotiation with the international communities, I'm sure we'll be able to turn things around.
Professor Prepar, I'm grateful for your time. He's an associate professor with the Andrews University in Michigan.